Hello, everybody. This is a bit of a surprise, not something that I was really planning on doing, but hey, we're going to be doing a Metallica reaction type of adjacent thing. So one of the things we're doing here on the channel, it's been really hard for us to record videos the last couple of weeks. If you've been with us this whole time on our Metallica journey, last year and then this year with my entire, leukemia battle and all this stuff and going through therapy and treatment and everything, it has been really difficult the last month and a half or so for us to do stuff. And I've been having some difficult times and it's just hasn't been that easy. So we've been not been doing very many things, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. And one of the things we're doing to try to make it a little bit easier for us to all get together so that Chris Schoenberg could maybe be in a few more videos coming up on the channel without having to actually physically come here to my house, which is how we've recorded everything with him so far. One of the things we're doing is we're switching from Streamlabs OBS to just straight up OBS, which gives us a few more options. And so for anyone who's interested in doing your own thing like this on your own channel, just know that what I've found out so far is that with Streamlabs OBS, you can have one guest for like using the free version of Streamlabs OBS. If you want to have more guests, you have to subscribe to like Streamlabs Premium, basically, or I'm not sure exactly what they call it, but you have to subscribe to Streamlabs Premium. And the way we're going to be doing this in the future, not in this video is just going to be me and you guys reacting to some Metallica video that I found that I think might be interesting. But the reason I'm explaining all this now is because this is sort of a test. This is going to be the first video that I'm recording to post on the channel that I'm going to be using OBS to record instead of Streamlabs. So I'm hoping I have everything set correctly in the settings. I hope the quality of the video doesn't go down for you guys. I hope everything's crisp and clear. As I look up here at my screen, it looks pretty nice and clear. And I can see that, like, whoops. Well, the mic's working. I can see that I don't have very many dropped frames or anything like that. It looks pretty smooth to me. I do see up here in the back, this record has some pixels here that are like doing some funky. So I don't know why that's happening, but it is what it is. So I don't know what's going on there. So that's kind of distracting, but there's something back here too. Huh. Interesting. Well, anyway, we're one of the main reasons we're switching to OBS instead of Streamlabs OBS is that we can use a website called Video Ninja to basically bring multiple people into a session, and I'll be able to record the videos just like I have everything set up right now, and basically have like Chris Schoenberg over here in the video, and Chris Parker over here in the video, and down here something we're reacting to, or I could have conceivably have Chris, Cody, Hunter, whoever. We could have as many people as we wanted, I think, within reason. And do a whole video like that. And I think I have fast enough internet, fast enough computer now that everything is going to be okay and probably look all right, and hopefully signals won't be lost. That was one of the big issues we had with Streamlabs, constantly having my guests dropping out. And so we've done some pretty long tests so far, and we haven't had anybody drop out. Now, we haven't done any videos yet with anybody remotely, but we're going to be trying that soon, hopefully. But so this is me kind of testing this out. So I'm really hoping the quality of this video is up to the standard that we've set so far on the channel, and I'm hoping that we can have some fun. So, like I said, this is different. I have not told either of the Chris's that I'm doing this. This is just a video I found online this morning, and I thought it looked interesting, and I started watching it, and I watched about the first 3-4 minutes, and I was like, let's do a reaction to this, because I'm already planning to film a reaction later today to Simone Simon's solo album, Vermilion. So if that's something you are aware of and are looking forward to, you can look forward to that coming out on the channel sooner. It might actually probably will be out before this video. But just know that I was planning to do that, so I thought, well, I'll have everything down here. I'll be set up. I think I have everything set up now so that I can basically just come down here whenever I want to record. I don't have to bring my laptop with me. I don't have to bring anything with me. Just come down here and hit record, basically, and go. And every time I do a little tiny thing, take a little step here and there, it makes things a little bit easier. And so I'm hoping that we don't have many technical issues with this, with using Streamlabs, and I'm hoping that we can have a lot of fun. And so the reason I have the video set up like this, where I'm off to the side a little bit over here, compared to being in the middle, is because I have this video here pulled up, and you can see that it is it's the M72 Metallica concert review, both shows, and this is from the channel The Art of Guitar. And so I watch this guy's videos every now and then. You can see I'm not subscribed to his channel. Maybe I'll subscribe to the channel, but I tend to not subscribe to tons of channels. I watch YouTube a lot, and I try to curate my feed very specifically. But this guy's videos do make its way onto my recommended list a lot, and I've watched a bunch of his videos about guitar playing and different things over the last couple of years, and this popped up, and I thought, oh, this would be maybe interesting to watch. And so, like I said, I watched the first couple minutes, and I thought, let's just go ahead and react to this. So I don't know what this video is going to be like. I don't know if there's going to be a bunch of swear words I'll have to edit out afterwards. I have it set up in such a way that I am recording this onto a separate track. So I believe that everything should work out in such a way that I can edit the video and the audio and everything independently of each other. Not the video necessarily. This box over here, this thing, this thing right here is baked into the video. So normally when we do videos with other videos inside them, I put the video where it goes, and so I can like remove things, whatever, do zoom ins and whatnot, and we'll just see how this works. So this is just me testing this out. We'll see what happens. So I believe right now we are recording this. If I just bring this up here, and I'm pretty sure this, and I hit play here. Yeah, so let's just go ahead and watch
Mike
this.
Here from The Art of Guitar. I'm here with another concert review. I just did the one on Pantera with their surprise show at First Avenue. But this is going to be about the Metallica concert at US Bank Stadium. It was a 2-day concert. And the funny thing is when I bought tickets, I thought I was only buying tickets for the first concert. So when I looked closer at the ticket and I saw that it said both days,
I'll probably be pausing a little bit to talk every now and then. So I do know that for the 72 Seasons tour, what they're doing is they have every show when they go to a different city is 2 nights. And each night is no repeats, right? So if you want to go to one show or the other, and I believe they post the track listing or the set list before the show is announced, so that you know which show you're trying to go to, like see if you want to see your favorite song or whatever. But yeah, so, and like I said, I did watch the first 2 or 3 minutes of this video already, so I know that he gets tickets to the pit and all this stuff. So I don't think he says how much it costs, but
I decided to ask my friend Christopher if he wanted to go to the first show, and then I asked my nephew if he wanted to go to the second show, but he would have to fly in from out of town, and he was totally cool doing that.
So August 16th,
he
you went and saw
5 times now. The first time was way back in 91 or 92 when they had the Black Album tour. But this one was going to be
that
different
square stage.
For this one, I bought
those people in the middle
tickets, which means we're going to be right inside the stage. Seeing the Black Album tour really changed the trajectory of my life. I knew right then and there that I really wanted to pursue guitar for the rest of my life. And it was really great because my teenage metal band at the time were all at the concert together. We all sat next to each other in a row, and we all were equally as impacted by this concert. And that's what made this concert so exciting, because in addition to Christopher and I going, Corey and Al were going with us as well. So it was the entire Sanctus band having a reunion at a Metallica concert. The show started at...
So that's cool, the idea that he was there with his band. One of the things, going to a very small school myself, I've always wondered what it would be like if I was able to go to, if my life was set up in such a way that I was going to a bigger school, and if I was around people who cared about music as much as I did earlier in life. It wasn't until I got to college where I started to actually meet and be around people who cared about music the way that I did, which was just on a much deeper level than most people that I knew who even enjoyed music a little bit. In my family, nobody cares about music. I do have an uncle that has been in bands his entire life, and he plays the trumpet, guitar, piano, everything. He has kind of like a one-man show that he does kind of locally and performs at small venues and things. And I wasn't super close with him growing up as much as I am now as an adult, but they lived, a little bit further away from us. But it was fun to talk to him growing up. But we just were never into the same kind of music. I got into metal music when I was in junior high-ish, kind of around 2000-ish, maybe late 90s, early 2000s, and I was definitely listening to different things than he was. He was already in his 50s at that point, so. Him and I were never really very close, but other than him and my family, I didn't have anyone that was close to me at all. But I've always wondered what it would have been like if I would have been exposed to or been around people who thought about music the same way I did in high school. Would I have tried to start a band? I definitely think I would have. I played the drums in high school, percussion, and when I was in high school, when I was in junior high, actually, in my school, my school is so small that when you're in junior high, 7th grade, for those of you who don't refer to as junior high or high school, in 7th grade, you're already in the high school band. You travel with the high school band and perform with the high school band for different shows, because our band had, I think, 21 or 22 people in it. And then it grew a little bit as I was in high school. And in my class, I had 10 children in my class all total, 10 kids. So it was me and then 9 other kids. There was 5 boys and 5 girls. And I loved my class a lot. And we were kind of goody two-shoes type of class, all pretty smart. And when I joined band in 7th grade, I was looking in the back room where we had just for storage on the stage that we used as rehearsal in our old gym. And if I can find pictures of this, I'll put some pictures up so you can see here while I'm talking about this, because I did record some videos there of the stage and everything. But anyway, long story short, I found some of our pep band gear, which at the time we did not have a pep band, but in previous years we did. And I convinced our teacher to start the pep band up. And so we had a lot of fun in band. And I think I and my fellow bandmates, when we were in junior high, really sort of inspired some of the kids below us to join band. And our band actually grew to like 35 or so people over the next few classes that came in. And by the time, I and one of my fellow classmates, Allison, we were the only 2 people to have gone through the entire high school year staying in band every year. Anyway, band was really fun for me, and we got out the trap kit when I was when I was in junior high, and I basically played the kick, snare, cymbals, and 2 toms we had for pep band and for everything we did, basically all through for 6 years in 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And we had a lot of fun. And I was terrible. I was never very good. But if I was around someone that knew how to play the guitar and someone who knew the bass, I guarantee we would have tried to be in a band. And basically, I think that it probably would have changed the trajectory of my entire life. And I don't know if I would have, who knows what would have ended up happening. But yeah, as I said, I was terrible. I'm a terrible performing musician. But anyway, so I can't imagine having friends like that when you're young like that and in your teens, and then going to a show like this and having it just impact your life so deeply. I think that is a really cool story. I promise I'm not going to stop this every 5 seconds.
6. So the first band was going to be Mammoth, and that's Eddie Van Halen's son's band, so Wolfgang Van Halen's band. And after Mammoth, it was Pantera. And the crazy part is Christopher and I had already watched Pantera the day before at First Avenue when they did their secret club date. And like I said, the concert was at US Bank Stadium, and that place.
I heard that Pantera show. I saw a bunch of like Metal Sucks and Metal Injection things on Facebook saying that it was
Empire ship from Star Wars or something.
Secretly recorded or whatever for a live DVD or something.
Because I brought my ex-girlfriend to see her. And before that, it was Metallica again.
I don't know anything about Pantera, as you guys know.
When they were one of the first acts to actually play US Bank Stadium. So this is going to be a lot different, though, because at that concert, they did not have the round stage, and we were sitting way far back. We had to stand in multiple lines. The first one was just to get through the security check, so the metal detectors and all that. And, I just kind of looked around and took in the whole atmosphere, and everybody just seemed really buzzed and excited for the show, obviously. And there were some interesting graphic T-shirts as well. Speaking
Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, no, I didn't even think about the ads.
Marvel Jesus, you
I didn't know Hulk was in the movie.
Speaking
I
of
haven't seen
t-shirts,
Deadpool and
Christopher
Wolverine
actually
yet.
wore his Pantera shirt from the night before because they were selling a one-time t-shirt for that particular gig. And I saw a lot of other Pantera shirts there as well. So a lot of people went to both concerts. After we got through the first couple lines, we had to go get our wristbands so that we could get in the special snake pit section. But part of me was kind of wishing we had laminates instead, because ever since I saw Wayne's World, I think it was Wayne's World 2, when they're going around and they're showing everybody their pass, this feels way cooler to do this than to like show somebody your wrist for some reason. Now get this, so many people want Metallica merch that they actually opened a store nearby US Bank Stadium where they sold their merchandise, I think a few days before the concert even happened. And then outside of the stadium, they had these buses set up where they're selling merchandise as
Okay, so this is at the point where I stopped the video, so I saw everything up to this point. That is crazy to me, that they set up a store before the days before the show so people could go buy Metallica merch. That is nuts. Let me know if that's something that they've been doing around the world as they've been doing this. Because, I mean, it makes sense because you can't expect however many tens of thousands of people are going to these shows to all buy their t-shirts at the same time after the show's over, or in the hour or so before the show, once they get there. So that's crazy though. It's got to be so crazy to be in a band that huge, right? That you just, think of the logistical, that's crazy. That's crazy. So nuts.
Wow. We underestimated the time it would take to get to the stadium and actually get through the lines and everything. So by the time we got inside, Mammoth was already starting up. And we're walking around, and I could hear the band going, but they sounded like a...
Unacceptable. If you're going to pay money to go to, probably in this case, an exorbitant amount of money, like a crazy amount of money, you get to the show and you hear the first note, you hear the last note. Unacceptable to me that you would miss any of it. And I understand things are beyond your control, but I don't care. You leave 6 hours early instead of 3. You leave 10 hours early instead of 6. You get there early and you enjoy every second, every nanosecond of that experience. I don't care if it's what it is, if it's a music show, if it's a movie, if it's anything, you see every part of it. That's the way I view it. If you're going to spend your money on something, you want to experience it to the absolute fullest extent.
Distant echo, and they gave me flashbacks of when we saw Guns N' Roses and Metallica back in the day, and they played the Metrodome in Minnesota.
Guns N' Roses and Metallica played together.
They're playing in this gigantic canyon. But I knew the closer we got to the stage, obviously, the better it was going to sound, and I knew where we were going to end up, so I wasn't worried. So if you've ever been to US Bank Stadium, you probably know that it's like a maze sometimes. You get
and I probably will never be
hallways. So
I don't even know what city it's in.
This weird liminal spaces.
Hey
like
Google, where is US Bank Stadium?
It's kind of like a nightmare because I could hear the band playing, but we just couldn't find our way to the floor. So we eventually found our way to the lower level, and then we walked down.
Oh, really? Minneapolis, Minnesota?
Down to the very bottom.
That's actually probably the closest Metallica will get to me. So, shoot, I probably could have gone to this show. Well, not, but I couldn't have afforded it, or wanted to, or been there, and I was supposed to be in the hospital every day
and they actually
that
had
week anyway, so,
puzzle gray plastic mats. And it was great because it relieved your feet a little bit. I knew I was going to be standing quite a bit this entire weekend.
That's actually really awesome to have a somewhat spongy floor.
But later on, I would find out that it would actually be sort of a detrimental thing. Because a lot of the bands, especially Metallica, were throwing out picks. And I think a lot of them got stuck in the crevices of the puzzle mats. I looked up and I was just in awe of these cylindrical towers that they put up. I think there were 8 of them total. And they had the graphics, the screens on them, but they were like a 360, so everybody could see them. Everything was made for gigantic stadiums. And you could see that there were lines of lights. And later on, we'd find out that there was a hidden surprise in every single one of them. But we'll get to that eventually. That's my cliffhanger.
Pyro is
Chris and I were now in the snake pit, looking around, seeing these awesome drum sets that were set up for Pantera. And like I talked about in the Pantera video, by the way, check that out if you want. There's a lot of crazy things that happen at that show. I could finally see up close the pictures of Dimebag and Vinny on the kick drums, of Charlie's kick drums. And that's where I saw that the other 2 kick drums that had the Cowboys from Hell logo on them were like fake kick drums. They were really shallow looking, almost like V drums. So the snake pit was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was worried that they were going to shove us all together and then lock a gate and trap us in. And I thought, man, what if I have to go to the bathroom? What if I just want to leave for a little bit? But it wasn't like that at all. There were these 2 huge escape areas where you could easily walk out. Sometimes they would bar one side because that's where the band would enter from, I guess. I found that out later. But for the most part, it
That
was
makes
wide
sense.
open, and it
You
was
have to
never
be-
to the point
you have to
where I
very
felt really
safely get the band
constricted
through
like I
all
did
that
at the
stuff.
First Avenue concert with Pantera. I felt like I could easily breathe. and
Live
have
sound
an
scares me
escape.
so
Chris
much.
and I
It's
walked
so
to the edge
intimidating to
closer
me.
to one of the drum sets. We just had to kind of guess which one they were going to start on, and we chose the wrong one because suddenly Pantera came out almost as if out of nowhere, like out of the floor or something. I didn't see where they were coming from, and I saw the band members come up.
That's
I
a
saw
huge
Zach
area in
Wild
the middle
just
there. That's pretty
towering
cool.
in front of me like the Viking that he is. And Charlie sat down on the other drum set, so Chris and I had to walk.
So yeah, I
to the
don't know
other
any
side and
Pantera
kinda
really yet.
not
I know
fight our
Walk,
way
and I
because
did have the
everybody's
CD,
pretty
The
chill.
Great Southern
But we tried
Trench
to
Kill,
get as
for a
close as
while, but I actually
possible
sold it
because
at a
we really wanted
garage
to
sale.
hear up close and
What an
personal.
idiot I
They
am.
played the same
I remember
intro
that
that
one
they did
year
when
I
they
did
played
that. I
First
regret
Ave,
all
and it
those
was just
CDs
a
I
clip
sold
from,
so
I think,
much.
the Vulgar videos. And the crowd was going crazy because, like I said in the other video, they were showing
Probably
early
sold it for like
footage
a
of
buck.
Dimebag and Vinny and the whole band,
stupid.
actually. So it was cool to see that. They started off again with a new level. And it's kind of crazy because they ended up playing the exact set list from the night before. So everybody who was
Well,
wearing
that
a
makes
Pantera
sense.
shirt already kind of knew what to expect. The big difference, though, was that now Pantera was surrounding us instead of being just in front of us. And now most of us were close enough to the band members to where, if Phil Anselmo wanted to spit on somebody, he could. It was a pretty stark contrast in sound from the night before to what we were hearing in the pit because it wasn't that loud in the pit, to tell you the truth.
Walk in between 4 and 8 for your hot and
Oh
ready
my God, there's
breakfast
gonna be a
like
billion
$7.99
ads
thin
here.
crust this summer at Little Caesars.
Pizza, pizza.
Well, okay, we
All
can
right, so
skip
let's
this
see
one.
what happens.
There we go. I'm not subscribing to
Pantera is one
YouTube,
of those
no matter
bands
what.
that
I'm not
really
paying
need
for
to
that
feel the
premium
power. You
crap.
need to feel the kick drum and the guitars just ripping your face off. But being in the middle, it seemed like we were in sort of a vacuum. All the PA speakers that were surrounding us were pointing outward to everybody else. Each tower had one speaker facing inward, so we heard that, but there really wasn't any power to it. So I feel
I mean,
like
it
that's
makes
something
sense that they would
overlooked
have
a little
everything.
bit, that
You
the
need to
pit people
focus
weren't gonna have the
focus
best
the
mix,
best sound
We
needs to be
also weren't
focused
getting
on
much
the
stage volume because
50,000
they were
other
leaving in
people
your
there,
monitors.
not the
So a lot of the time,
however
all I
many
could
people were in
really
the
hear
pic, the
most
hundreds
was
of people there.
Charlie's drums. And that was a little bit distracting because even though I love all the Pantera drumming, when you can't hear really anything else besides that, it's just not the same, obviously. The circular setup is really cool, and it allows for a lot of people in the stadium to see the band up close every once in a while. But when you're in the middle, it's
Looks
kind
like
of
Zakk Wylde.
strange because you feel like your head is always on a swivel, and you're not sure who to look at.
Wait, is Zakk Wylde playing
I'd
with
stare at Rex
Pantera?
for like a minute, and all of a sudden I'd hear Zakk Wylde starting to solo. So
Oh,
I'd be like,
okay,
"Where
well,
is
hey.
he?"
Are you guys
He's,
proud
like,
of me that I
way
knew
over
Zakk
on the other
Wylde?
side, and he's
Let's
not even
go.
facing me. So that got a little
Didn't
bit
know he was
strange,
playing
and
with
I kinda felt
Pantera
like
now,
Linda
though.
Blair in The Exorcist, like constantly turning
Obviously,
my head to try to figure out where the
Dimebag
action was.
Darrell's not
I'd
in
mostly try to
Pantera
follow
anymore,
Phil
so.
and Zach, and Phil walked up right up in front of us one time, and he had this little station where he had this kind of table thing set up with waters and throat sprays. And I laughed because I thought, old school Phil would have never had anything like that. He would have just knocked it over or something. And I think he felt a little silly doing that in front of us, so he started making fun of himself and spraying his armpits and stuff. So he still had a sense of humor about it. After about 4 tunes, I decided to check out the
You
general
should never feel
admission
self-conscious
area.
about taking
Because
care of
we
your
had
voice
these
if you're the lead
wristbands,
singer
you could
in
go
one of the
anywhere
most
you
important
wanted
metal
to,
bands of all
basically.
time.
So I walked out, and suddenly I could feel and hear the kick drum. I could hear and feel the guitar. And I'm like, man, general admission is the place to be to really get the full sound. Visually, the Snake Pit is the
But
place
again,
to
that makes
be,
sense.
But man, if I could have traded my tickets for general admission tickets, I really wouldn't be that bummed out after I experienced both sides. After exploring around a little bit, I found like this secret merch area where there was no line. And that was really rare because, I already talked about all the merch areas all around the place, even outside, and they were all totally filled up. So when I found this one booth with nobody actually waiting, I thought, this is crazy. This is like special, like VIP treatment. I figured this is how the other half lives, I guess. So I went up and I took my time and I found this shirt. I thought it looked the most badass. Here's the back of it, by the way. Once again, it says the exact date of the show. So between this and the Pantera shirt, I feel pretty special because these are, one-of-a-kind shirts for that particular date. Not only was the merch table not busy, the bathrooms weren't busy. So I could take my time and I was like, man, I could get used to this.
Kind of silly to think the shirt's any more special than any other night's show. I mean, it's the same design on the front with the different words on the back.
Because he's a sound engineer and he runs live
I only
sound all
look
the
for
time.
shirts that aren't
So
black
we went
anymore.
out and he couldn't believe it either. He's like, this is like night and day. Right about then, they kicked into their last song, Cowboys from Hell, and they did all the strobe lights like they do all the time whenever they play that song. And I thought, okay, this is cool. The whole crowd was going nuts.
But it's
Everybody
bright
loves
daylight,
Cowboys
right?
from Hell. But I thought, I think they have one more song after this if they did what they did the night before and played an encore. But after they played Cowboys from Hell, that was it. They did not kick into Tomorrow Don't Mean Shit. That's the song they played as an encore the night before. Turns out no matter how popular you are, if you're opening for Metallica, you got to keep it tight. You got to keep on schedule. So
Makes
I believe
total
that's
sense.
why they didn't play that encore, even though I would have loved to hear it. Now, the applause that they got after Cowboys from Hell was so insane that you would have thought that Pantera was headlining. It's always weird to me when bands play stadiums and it's still daylight out and the sun's shining through the windows. And US Bank has all these windows in the ceiling. So Pantera basically played in the light. And so you never really get that full concert experience. You don't get to see all the stage production that only comes alive in the dark. I knew Metallica was going to take their time coming out, so I thought by the time they come out, it's going to be dark and we're going to get the full effect of the stage lighting. So Chris and I walked around a little bit, got something to drink, went to the bathroom, got something to eat. I stretched my legs out a little bit, and we actually ran into some more subscribers, which is cool. I had
It's interesting to have
guitar picks. So everybody I met, I would give them.
It's interesting to have
picture. It was a lot of fun. We got back to the
2
snake
nights
pit,
to
and I
experience it,
realized
so
how
you can
cool
go
I
the
felt
first night, see how everything
walking through the little
feels, and then
tunnel
the second night
into the
just
snake
enjoy the
pit
whole
area. It felt like I was
experience
walking in a
if you
movie,
wanted to
almost
walk
like in
around
slow
and
motion or something. And we were really
know.
feeling that anticipation to see Metallica. Suddenly something whooshed by my head. I look up and it's this camera that they have on 4 cables. It was able to go all around the stadium and film anywhere.
Like a football
so it was
camera.
one of those live action football cameras, and I wasn't used to seeing one of those, so it kind of freaked me out when I went by. I thought it was a drone at first. Metallica really
Very
knows
cool.
how
Those
to
things are
squeeze
really
every
cool.
ounce of anticipation out of their fans, so they took a long time to come out. Like I said, the sun finally went down. Pantera ended around 8 o'clock. My friend thought they were going to start at 8:30, which would make sense. But part of me thought, you know what? I think they're going to wait till 9 o'clock. And I ended up being right. So they started at 9 o'clock. But the weird part was I didn't see Lars's drum set. I looked all around and I just did not see a drum kit. So my friend Chris is like, I bet you it's going to pop out of the stage. And I thought, well, it better happen soon because the intro music's about to start up. And next thing I knew, Chris was like, oh, there it is. And it already had popped out of the stage. Later, I would see it come up in other parts of the stage. I think it was another drum set, so he had at least 2. But it came up pretty quick. It wasn't like this slow reveal. It was like, boop, there's the drum kit. It's pretty impressive, actually. And there
pretty
it was,
awesome, actually,
Lars's
yeah.
drum kit, bright yellow. I still don't know how I feel about that color for Metallica. I always think of the band Stryper. Now, just like that camera that whooshed by my head, all of a sudden I hear this huge crashing and whooshing sound happen. It was like this gigantic sound effect. Right afterwards, the lights went down a little bit, and AC/DC's It's a Long Way to the Top If You Want to Rock and Roll started playing. And the whole crowd started getting excited. It felt like the beginning of like a football game or something. Everybody's clapping and smiling, and you know, I was ready for the concert. And just like always, Metallica started up the good, the bad, and the ugly with the video, and that never gets old to me. For some
Very
reason,
cool.
just that
Didn't know they
intro
did that.
song is so epic. And it always signifies that you're about to see something even more epic afterwards. So I was getting the chills.
Huh.
That
Really?
intro song
The
just gives me
Metallica's
goosebumps
more
every
epic
single
than the
time.
good, the
I
bad, and the
started to
ugly?
live stream, and I
don't know.
asked Chris what he thought they were going to start with. For some reason, I thought Creeping Death. Now, just like Pantera, Metallica came out from
Overrated.
nowhere. Now that I watch some videos, I see that they're on the outer side of the stage and they come up these stairs. But from my vantage point, it looked like they just came out from, you know, the stage, kind of like the drum kit did. There was Lars Ulrich. He turns around and he's like screaming at people, and his eyes are wide open, and he looked a lot like if you watch MMA, sometimes the fighters do a really severe weight cut and their eyes kind of get hollowed out a little bit. So Lars
Or
kind of
Son
looked like
Rask.
that. He looked like a man possessed.
Did you know that in Texas?
No!
rifles
Come
can be carried
on!
in public
Boo!
without a license, whereas
Boo
in
all these
Florida,
ads.
No open carrying is.
Creeping Death was great.
Don't know what
but
song
I
that was.
busy live streaming. You know, I kind of have to walk the line between recording things for my review videos and being present and actually watching the concert.
Yeah, I
So
could
in the
imagine that being a
beginning, you know,
tough
after live streaming,
balance.
I realized I really wasn't taking in the concert, you know, live. So I put the phone down a little bit and I really took in a lot of Harvester of Sorrow, which was their next song. Then they played Hit the Lights, which was a huge surprise. You know, it was the first song on Kill 'Em All, their first official album. So I thought that was pretty cool that they went all the way back in time to play that tune. Then they kicked into King Nothing. And everything that's off Load, I get a weird feeling when I hear it because it was such a bad time in my life when that song came out, when that album came out in 96. Now, I talked about how Pantera didn't sound super powerful in the pit area because of the speaker situation. For some reason, though, Metallica sounded pretty good. it still wasn't kicking me in the chest, and I couldn't really feel the pop of Lars's snare drum, which is such a huge part of his sound. I would hear their full mix later when I left the pit area once again, but it was sounding pretty good where we were standing. I think that's because Metallica's volume is just so much louder than their opening acts. That's just a Metallica thing. I really noticed that when we saw the first time at US Bank Stadium. Avenged Sevenfold sounded half as loud as Metallica. I kept joking to my friend that I can picture Lars Ulrich going back to the soundboard and just like secretly bringing down the volume, you know? So being the audio geeks that we are, Christopher and I decided to leave the pit once again to hear the full mix. And it was weird because as soon as we walked out of the pit area, we realized that we were right next to a mosh pit. Inside the snake pit area, nobody was moshing. I think it's because a lot of people spent a lot of money for their tickets. They didn't want to get in trouble or get thrown out. And just people had a more calm, laid-back demeanor in the
Definitely
pit,
cool to be there next to those
pit.
guys. But yeah, if it's
Once
not
you got
sounding as
outside
good,
of
you
it,
should
I saw
not
a
pay for
circle
that.
pit happening, and standing right in the middle of the pit was my ex-girlfriend's brother. I thought that was kind of funny. They were moshing at this particular point to the song 72 Seasons. And I have to admit, I listened to the album 72 Seasons a few times, and then I kind of just abandoned it. I liked a few of the tracks, but I didn't really stick with it like I do the other Metallica albums. But I got a new excitement for the song after seeing so many people having fun and moshing to it. So sometimes that'll happen. You don't really catch on to a song, but once you hear it live in under different circumstances, it could definitely change your mind about it. We went back to the pit area, and I actually started to get a little bit tired. And I must have lost my adrenaline for a while because I felt like I was, kind of just dragging a little bit. And that's when the show slowed down. They had Rob and Kirk do their thing together again, and this time they made up a song. I forgot what it was called, like Purple #1 Pride or something. And it was just like this jam thing that they did. And then they kicked into songs like Fade to Black and Shadows Follow, and then they played Orion and Nothing Else Matters. So it was kind of
I don't even know what Shadows Follow is.
I love those songs. It just brought me to this place.
And Orion's like super boring.
And relax a little bit because I knew they were going to end strong. One real special moment that I remember was when James and Kirk were playing the bend part of Orion together. And there's just this magic with that real slow bend part that kind of sounds like a slow siren. They played that live together, and it was really cool to see them standing next to each other, and I captured a little bit of it. Then when they kicked into Nothing Else Matters, Kirk does the intro, and he's been known to mess up the intro sometimes, so I made sure to record at least part of it. He has a good sense of humor about it. If he messes up, he'll just start over and laugh it off. Now, even though Kirk got a little tripped up on a few little sections of that intro, it did not stop him. He just kept plowing forward and ended up being just fine. After that slight lull where I felt like I was losing some energy, it all came shooting back the moment they kicked into Sad But True. I was instantly teleported back to 91 when we were all at the Black Album tour, and that energy came right back to us. Then they kicked into Blackened, and that sealed the deal for me. I was feeling it. Blackened was incredible. It's one of my favorite Metallica songs, if not my favorite. And I love the middle breakdown part. It's always super groovy. But one thing I'm bummed about is they, for some reason, just cut out one of my favorite parts of the song, and that's where the beat changes after the solo. Not sure why they cut that out. Maybe it's too weird to pull off live, but I really do miss it every time they skip it. Oh, I forgot. During Sad But True, Robert stepped onto this platform, and he started to move like he was surfing or floating across the audience. And what it was this platform, and this guy was pushing it like a giant shopping cart. And Rob was just up there playing the whole time. And then when they got to the other side, he jumped off back onto the stage.
It's pretty awesome. That's very cool.
Started playing this instrumental thing real quick. And then he kicks into Fuel. And suddenly, this explosion of fire lights up all around us, and it feels like everything shoots up like 90 degrees suddenly. Of course, that's the perfect song to have pyro to, but man, feeling the heat of those blazing flames freaked me out because I thought, how are they withstanding that? They're super close to it.
Imagine bands on a smaller stage than that
for quite a while,
with all the pyro.
About 15 tunes. They kick into Seek and Destroy, and more surprises happen. You know those big cylindrical towers? Well, I guess I didn't see it happen, but these huge balls fell out from all of them. Like the bottom opened up or something, all of a sudden these huge beach balls fall. Usually when you go to a concert and there's a bunch of beach balls, people just hit them and it's a fun little friendly thing. But these things were gigantic. They were huge. I would guess that they were maybe like 5 feet tall or something.
Wow, that's very
really
cool.
Heavy. So as they came towards us, I didn't know what to expect. So I kind of did the double fist like that, and it basically pushed me back a little bit. And they just caused chaos. I look up, and all of a sudden, one of the balls hit Lars Ulrich's drum kit.
Oh, that's funny.
Some of the microphones,
knocked the mic off.
Were getting knocked over.
Oh, that's really, I love it. That's funny.
And fix everything. And he was
Dude, that's so cool.
He was both trying to fix
That's so awesome. I love it.
I'm gonna put my nutsack
on your drum set.
And Lars comes out and he's like talking to the audience a little bit, and all of a sudden one of the balls hits him out of nowhere. It was one of the funniest things I ever saw. So thanks to Chris for capturing that. He sent me the footage for that one.
That's so great.
How to end big. They ended with Master of Puppets. People were going crazy in the stands. The balls were still floating around. And
gosh, this is only night one too.
Jeez. He grabbed one of them and smothered it and took all the air out. And this guy like folded it up and he kept it near him like he was just going to run out with it. And he looked so happy to have one of Metallica's balls. At the very end, I almost died laughing. I'm so sad I didn't capture this. But James walked right in front of one of those huge beach balls, and he picked it up, and he saw Lars was facing away from him. Lars was just yelling at the crowd or whatever he always does. And James pushes the ball into Lars and almost knocks him off the stage. Because like I said, these balls had some weight to them.
That's
so Lars kind of had to catch himself. And he turns around, and I did capture what happens next. It was almost like two brothers fighting. They tossed out cups full of picks. So on the side of the stage, they had these plastic cups, and they'd run by and just throw a whole bunch at us. They threw out hundreds of picks, and guess how many I caught? 0. James took off one of his armbands, and he like wiped sweat off of his face, and I think his armpits, and then he pretended to wipe his butt, and then he threw it behind him almost like a bride would at their wedding with the
that's funny.
And people just tore at it, and somebody ended up with it.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
Just kind of be like, whoa, and then be like, ooh.
That's awesome. That was night one.
As we walk into the staging area.
This isn't a real call. This is a fake call. All right, here we go.
Like a grizzled old veteran, just because I was there yesterday and I knew what to expect.
I could totally see that feeling.
So excited about all this.
You'd be like, I know exactly what to expect.
So we walked
like
down, and by the way, Ice Nine Kills is playing. I never really heard them too much before, maybe 1 or 2 songs. So I didn't really know what to expect. So my nephew and I went right to the pit section, and his eyes got huge. He's like, I can't believe we're down here.
Ice Nine Kills with Metallica?
I look around,
Yuck.
and I'm watching Ice Nine Kills, and they seem so young compared to all the other bands that have been playing the last couple days. And they had this horror theme. I never knew that they were like this, but it was really exciting because I'm a huge horror fan. So to see them...
Oh, that's right. They're the band that did release a horror album, I think, right?
Special effects and have like zombies walking around. I thought that was sweet. All I could think about
that is
kind of
cool.
Five Finger Death Punch was next. So Ice Nine Kills is like the teens, then Five Fingers like the uncles, the cool uncles, and then Metallica was going to be like the dads come out to rock.
Grandpas.
Something that stuck with me is their drum beats are so intense. And if you watch the drummer, first of all, he looks like somebody's younger brother or something that's just tagging along. He's just so relaxed, and he's playing these insane beats without breaking a sweat. It was pretty impressive. I was really enjoying their set, but I kept thinking these guys would kill it on like a normal stage where I could really watch the entire production versus having to look in a circle the whole time and try to see what's going on.
That's interesting
the next
thought.
Band up was Five Finger Death Punch. They're one of those bands that I've always liked whenever I hear them, but I never really got into them. We're walking back to the Snake Pit area, but as we're coming down the stairs, I remember feeling the kick drum from the drummer. I don't know if his kick drums are triggered or something, but I was getting this intense like pounding on my chest as I was walking down the stairs. It felt like I was having palpitations or something. So we're getting closer to the stage. I'm holding 2 waters, and all of a sudden I feel something sharp hit my face. I look up, and the guy from Five Finger Death Punch had thrown out a guitar pick. And I laughed because I thought about the other night how I was trying so hard to catch a Metallica pick, even though they were throwing out hundreds. And here I am with both my hands occupied, and I get hit right in the face with one. So we go back to the
very
Snake
funny.
Pit, and I'm watching the band. I don't know many of their songs. I knew like one of them, I think. But the craziest thing is it didn't really matter because the band was very entertaining. Their bass player had this gigantic...
I bet they'd be
figure.
great to play. Great to see live.
The octopus guy in one of the pirate movies. And every time he'd go to like headbang, he wouldn't really headbang because he had a shaved head, but he would what I call beard bang. So I thought that could be a new trend. That's another tidbit, by the way. I noticed how ironic it was that both nights I tried to find somebody headbanging and I never saw anybody. Nobody in the Snake Pit, nobody on general admission, maybe up in the stands. But back in the day when you heard Metallica, the first thing you would do was headbang. I just saw no headbanging. It was weird.
That's interesting.
Some beard banging, though, like I said. The singer for Five Finger Death Punch was really good with the
Ivan
crowd.
Moody.
Very interactive.
I like him a lot as a vocalist. His earlier bands, Moto Grader and Ghost Machine.
Bracelets. He was giving people anything he could. He even ripped like something off of his pants. I think it was like an elastic strap or something. Pulls it off and he gives it to somebody. And I kept thinking, at this rate, the guy's going to be naked by the end of the set. You know, okay, here's my G-string. Not that he wears one, but you never know. So there we are, all standing in the Snake Pit after Five Finger.
I definitely probably would have enjoyed that show more than Mammoth and Pantera, but only because I don't know any.
So on Friday,
I know Five Finger Death Punch like songs, I guess.
The wave. And it was the coolest thing because, first of all, the wave is goofy, right? Just humans are weird. We'll just start doing the wave whenever we get in huge groups. But
It's
in
cool.
addition to the wave, there's a new thing that I never saw before. People were taking out their cell phones and turning on the lights
Yeah.
and holding them up. And when they stood up, you would see this wave of lights go like this. I decided for some of my subscribers to live stream the first song. A lot of them say thank you. You know, I never got a chance to see Metallica, so this is cool. But once again, I really didn't feel present. But I was asking my nephew what he thought they were going to start with. And I so far have been 2 for 2. With Pantera, I thought a new level. With the first day of Metallica, I said Creeping Death. I guess that they were going to start with Lux Eterna. And that was kind of a stupid thing for me to think, but I was just feeling it. I was wrong. They started with Whiplash, which was pretty badass.
One of my
because
favorite
of,
Metallica
once again,
songs.
a really old song off of Kill 'Em All first. One thing I noticed right away is James Hetfield seemed to be a lot happier at this concert. He even admitted it Friday real quick in the middle of the set. He said something like, I was kind of grumpy when we started, but after playing a few songs, you know, I'm back. But you could tell Sunday it seemed like he was well rested or something. He was smiling just like all the guys were, and I kept thinking how different it is if you go back and watch really early Metallica. When they drank a lot, they all seemed a lot more serious, kind of ironically. Then they kicked into For Whom the Bell Tolls, Ride the Lightning, and then Until It Sleeps. The cool part of the double show idea is that they never repeated a song. Then they played Lux Eterna, and live that song kicks ass because of all the kick drums. Now this time, Kirk and Rob did some crazy stuff. I thought they were just going to do that song they did before, but they stayed true to what they said. No repeat sets. You'll never guess in a million years what Kirk Hammett ended up playing. He actually ended up singing a theme song for Mary Tyler Moore.
Because of Minneapolis. Yep, because of Minneapolis. We've seen this.
I think he wanted to do something local, kind of like
I got to see the statue in Minneapolis when we went there for vacation a couple years ago.
We have Kirk Hammett singing "You're Gonna Make It After All." And
Iconic.
everybody was kind of cringing, you know, and even Kirk was
No,
laughing.
dude,
He
that's
wasn't taking
cool.
it seriously at all. And then Robert brought up Ozzy, and everybody went crazy, and they actually did a version of "Over the Mountain." I was dying to just jump on Lars's kit and just start jamming along with them. But of course, I'd end up in jail if I did that. But you know what? I bet you the crowd will go crazy as they're dragging me off of the drum kit. It might be worth it, actually. No, I'm just kidding. I have to admit, Kurt rocked the solo. You know, he did Randy Rhoads proud for the Over the Mountain solo. It's not an easy solo at all. Right after that, the drum set popped
Never
up
heard that
right
song. I
next
don't
to
even know
us,
what that
and
is.
I got chills. I'm like, Lars is going to be right there. I couldn't believe the footage I was getting. Sometimes the whole band would congregate together right in front of us. And it was just like this holy moment for me. You know, ever since I was a kid, I've pretty much worshipped Metallica. And now they're right in front of me, and I'm trying to both be present, but also capture what I was seeing in front of me. They played The Day That Never Comes, which sounded great live.
Awesome.
And then they kicked into Wherever I
The
May
only
Roam.
good song of
And
Death
they kept doing
Magnetic.
these really great intros, so they had visuals as well as really cool, ominous sounding background music. For Wherever I May Roam, it was kind of obvious because you could hear like the sitar-like guitar sound. And it was this song that Rob did the platform surf once again. I know they started playing this live again, but you know, they kicked into Call of Cthulhu, and it was kind of a surprise. I didn't think they were going to play it at this show. But it was great because there's a lot of subtle, soft moments where you could take a breath, and then it gets really
Boring.
intense, and that's when the band got all together again. And I believe they dedicated that one to Cliff as well. Now, some of the time, Lars would be facing away from us, and you could see the little habits that he has. I noticed that he would drum, and he would grab his shirt and lift it up a lot. I wasn't sure why. I thought maybe he's drying off his hand because that's the hand that hits the snare all the time. So, you know, when you play, you develop...
Or he's
these
trying to
little
move his
habits.
pack,
That's his,
those wires from
for
his
sure.
pack out.
Now, being that close is great, but it also causes some audio issues. We're really close to Lars. I can hear every hit that
can
he's
actually
doing.
hear the drum.
But when they played The Unforgiven, there was kind of like a latency happening. Because you'd hear the drums first because they were so close to you, but then you'd hear all the other instruments. So it kind of sounded off, almost like Lars was drunk or something. That was the most apparent on Unforgiven. I think that's because it was more of a ballad, but when they played faster, it really wasn't as bad. During Inamorata, it was funny
interesting.
because people were trying to start a pit, but it was this innocent little playful pit, and it actually ended up being more like people trying to square dance. After the tune, Lars turns around and points right at me and looks at me with huge eyes. I thought he recognized me, you know, just my ego tells me that maybe he caught one of my videos about him in the past. That'd be so awesome. But then the guy next to me claims that it was him that he was pointing at, so I guess we'll never know. You know, when you see a concert,
That's so
even if
cool,
you're
though.
really far away, You think, God, I think Taylor Swift just winked at me. I freaked out when they kicked into Battery. I got some really good footage. I really wanted to get close to his picking hand to get all the details, I guess. But that one gave me chills. Hearing the end of Battery, when the beat goes to the thrash beat, and just the energy that the band felt at that moment was incredible. Now, I have a feeling Moth into a Flame is a little bit of a cursed song from Metallica. First of all, that whole Lady Gaga debacle that happened where James's mic wasn't working. But starting it off, I guess Lars is supposed to hit 8 counts, which he did. But James came in after 4. So there was like this weird moment on stage where it was chaotic. And all of a sudden, James is like,
everyone count to 8 with Lars.
I never thought that the shirt I wore to school one spring morning would lead to a federal lawsuit.
Oh, for goodness sake.
But the reactions from the adults were...
We'll sit down, count to 8, we'll come in, all right?
8. He's telling him count to 8.
But the craziest part is in that song is where they did the pyrotechnics. So right away after the count, they play a little riff and then bam, they hit the flames once again. Just like
So they had to have that right. That's funny. Thank goodness the pyro guy didn't light stuff off. Before realizing that he was going to restart the song.
Because then they started over and did it right. And the pyro went off right at the right time. But that must have been a really intense moment for that person. I loved how a lot of
That's
the time
awesome.
you could see
Good
the
job,
band
pyro
members,
guy.
Even if they were clear across the stage, look over at Lars to see when he was going to hit something. In a world that we live in now where a lot of things are programmed, quantized, auto-tuned, played to a grid, click tracks, all that kind of stuff, it was really cool to see an organic situation where James looks over it and they're like, bam, and they hit together. Towards the end, all the balls dropped once again, and I tried to keep it
still
a secret
probably
from
set
my
to a
nephew
click
'cause I wanted
track.
him to be surprised, and he was, he felt like I did the other day where you're like, what is this? Now, this time, it was a weird ball situation where a lot of them just got stuck up on the stage because everybody in the crowd just kind of hits it back, but they surrounded Rob, and he looked kind of annoyed because he'd try to sing, and all of a sudden the ball would hit the microphone or his bass or something, and I thought, this has to make his job so much harder. Now, at the end, all I wanted to do was get a pick for my nephew. So Kirk went by and he threw a bunch of picks. I missed every single one once again. But all of a sudden I looked down because Kirk did one last toss of picks. I looked down and I saw one. And I knelt down and I grabbed it as fast as possible and I sort of hid it in my hand. And I acted like I didn't get one. With my nephew, he tried to, he didn't get one. I'm like, oh, that sucks.
Dude, that's so epic.
He was real excited to get it.
That's
because
so
he's gonna take his
awesome.
wristband and the
Oh,
pick
that's cool.
And a picture of the concert and make like a framed memorabilia piece out of it or something. The
That's
band gets
so
done,
cool.
And like they did at the previous concert, they all congregated to the middle and they bowed, basically. I don't think they ever really bowed. They just kind of stand there. And then they turned around and the crowd's going nuts. And I felt a little bit emotional because every time I see Metallica live,
You think it's the last
I
time.
always wonder if it's going to be the last time.
I
I
can
tried
imagine
to take
that.
it in as much as possible, even though I was filming. I wanted to capture it because it might have been the last time. Who knows? I hope not. And they each took turns on the microphone, thanking the crowd and everything. So it gave it a personal touch. I thought that was a good move. As we walked out, reality hit my body, and I realized that I had been standing for 13 hours the past 4 days. We had to work our way through the crowd, get to the truck, and we ended up sitting in my Jeep for 30 minutes straight, maybe even a little bit more. I asked my nephew, he's like, I think it was longer than that. We didn't move at all.
Yeah,
The line
just
of cars were
exhausted.
just stopped.
Yeah.
And then finally,
Oh, yeah.
after I'd say maybe 40 minutes, we started to move.
Yeah, that's how it is. I mean,
to
this
get out of the ramp.
it's
and
just
then
how it
we finally
works.
Made it out of there. But the whole time we were in there, we weren't really bumming out because we had just experienced something so awesome.
Sure.
And we were kind of having that afterglow effect. And it was cool to talk to my nephew about all his favorite parts of the concert.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the day before the concert, he and I did a podcast together. So it was before we went to the concert, so we're not going to be able to talk about it on the podcast, but we discussed a lot of other stuff. So keep an eye out for that podcast. It'll probably come out in a couple days. Okay, everyone, so that was my experience with the 2 Metallica concerts in 3 days. Hopefully you were able to kind of feel like you were there with me. And if you were at the show, though, let me know in the comments section what your experience.
Awesome. Okay, so let me go back here. Okay, so that was fun to watch. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect. I'm glad he had a lot of footage of the show there because that was really neat. Yeah, so I don't think I'll ever get to see Metallica live. And people who watch this channel know that I am not a live music person at all. I don't enjoy live music. I think it always sounds terrible. I think the reason you would want to go is to just see the people in person and, experience them playing the music. whatever. We don't need to go into that whole thing, but I think that was a really well-made video. I like that guy. I've watched, like I said, a bunch of that guy's other videos talking about different guitar things, and I've really enjoyed that Art of Guitar channel with the few things that I have seen from them. So it's fun to see Metallica. You know, I don't know that much about them performing live, and I've come across a lot of their videos over the last year. Just YouTube is like recommends them to me every now and then when they do something specific live and upload a video or something. I would definitely be willing to react to some more live Metallica stuff, actually watching it and seeing it. We've only done one live Metallica reaction, and we had a lot of people criticize that video, and rightly so, that we weren't focusing on the performance of the music, and I was more so just focusing on just like seeing them live kind of like for the first time and not really listening to the music. And so next time we do live Metallica stuff, I'll try to focus more on the music. And but to me, that kind of stuff is not super entertaining. Like just hearing them perform the songs live is not very exciting to me. But with the added element of seeing them perform them visually, I think that would be a really great way to get me into that a little bit more. And I think we're still trying to figure out, I really would like to do Symphony and Metallica with the video, but I just don't know if we're going to be able to do that. We'll have to see if we can find a way to do it. But yeah, so I don't have anything else to say in this. I'll just say that I think that was a very entertaining video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching that with me. Like I said at the beginning, this was sort of a way to test the OBS versus Streamlabs. So we'll see how the quality of this video works. It looks pretty good to me. I still got this record up here freaking out, some pixels up here freaking out. Don't know why that's happening. So, must be the color or something, but anyway, we'll leave it there for now. Maybe in the comments, let us know if there's some other Metallica stuff we should try to do. Let me know how okay you are with me just doing individual Metallica stuff. Like, I obviously would love to have Chris and Chris here with me while we're doing things like this, but sometimes maybe it would be nice to just have it be me and whatever the content happens to be that we're reacting to. You know, I've been thinking about actually doing listening to Demo Magnetic, Death Magnetic, and Death Magnetic, the official iTunes release, comparing and contrasting the way that those sound. Would be interesting to do. And when we're listening, when we do stuff remotely, if we want to compare and contrast things, there's no way that I can figure out, even with Streamlabs or even with OBS, there's no way that I can hit play on my computer and it also plays on the remote people's devices as well. We have to sync stuff, and we have to sync stuff up, and I have to say, okay, hit play in 3, 2, 1, go. Like, we still have to do it that way, which is a huge bummer. And so I would like to do more comparing things and like more analyzing of things, but I can only do that with someone who's here in person because it's too difficult to say, go to 28 seconds into the song, hit play, listen for 5 seconds, and then we'll talk about what we just heard, right? It's much more difficult to do that. So we're still trying to figure out ways around some of that stuff, but as far as we can tell right now so far, there is no way to do that. But anyway, I'll leave it there for now. Thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you all next time.